Hello and welcome back to the Vocal Cosmetologist. My name is Darcy Harrison. Here it is, episode 2. I got episode 1 down and on to the next one. I am extremely excited about this particular episode because it is an extremely important conversation. The topic today is racial justice inside the cosmetology industry. We have seen a huge amount of work in nationwide and global protests in support of police accountability around the George Floyd murder and senseless death. But we want to continue this conversation going into specifically about the cosmetology industry and the nuances and details of that. So I'm going to refer to my notes. I have previously reviewed that accuracy is extremely important to me, so that's why I refer to notes so I don't speak out of turn. Please share this video if you are trying to support your friends of color in your community and in your industry. This is something that we all need to share, even if it's uncomfortable for us. That is part of the learning process. It is not meant to be easy or fun. The intent is to speak truth and create solutions, but this is not about political affiliation. The goal is to create awareness and positive change, not to be negative, but to create systemic change and conversations around the pathway towards eliminating systemic racism from not only our industry, but in the world at large. You're here to be challenged. That is one of the major priorities of the vocal cosmetologist, and also to speak truth to power even when it's difficult. So I invite you to take part in this conversation once you've watched the video. Have these conversations with your colleagues, your salon owners, your vendors, your clients. It's not going to be easy, but it is necessary in order for change to happen. So first off, I'm just going to do a couple definitions so that everyone is on the same page as to what the definition of racism is. In the description of this video, I'm going to provide a lot of resources. This is educational, so there's going to be some information about systemic oppression and racism. There's going to be a history of racism. There's going to be organizations that you can learn from and donate to and share info from. There's going to be a whole bunch of resources, so I'm supporting your ongoing work as well as just in this video. So the definition of racism, according to racialequitytools.org, structural racism in the US is the normalization and legitimization of an array of dynamics: historical, cultural, institutional, and interpersonal, that routinely advantage whites while producing cumulative and chronic adverse outcomes for people of color. It is a system of hierarchy and inequity, primarily characterized by white supremacy, the preferential treatment, privilege, and power for white people at the expense of Black, Latino, Asian, Pacific Islander, Native American, Arab, and other racially oppressed people. The indicators and manifestations are structural racism are inequalities in power, access, opportunities, treatment, and policy, impacts, and outcomes, whether they are intentional or not. And if we use an acronym, it's called BIPOC. That acronym is Black, Indigenous, People of Color. And I want to make sure that our BIPOC friends in this conversation are not used as tokens. They are human beings and they deserve to be heard. And we deserve to make sure that we contribute to their success and happiness just like everybody else in the world. We're going to start off with introductions. And I want to create an environment of empathy, patience, understanding, and acceptance, and emotions are okay. Interruptions are not permitted, and each individual will take turns. And the last thing I'm going to say is it's always appropriate for any person who is of white privilege to start any meeting out with that we are on stolen land. I particularly am in Seattle, King County, so right now I am on stolen Duwamish tribe land, and I want to recognize that it is not white people's land. It was never ours in the first place. So, with that all done, let's get into the meat of it. We're going to start off with Tamara, but the prompts are: where are you from? Where do you live? How long have you been in the cosmetology industry? And what is the specialty experience that you offer your clients and colleagues?
Unmute. I'm
There
sorry.
we go.
Thank you.
That's okay. Thank you.
I didn't want you to pick up any background noise.
That's
So I want
okay.
to say thank you, Darcy, first of all, for having this kind of conversation and doing this work, because I know as white people, this is challenging. This is very uncomfortable. So I just want to say thank you for being committed to the change that needs to happen. So thank you tremendously. So I am Tamara Johnson-Shealey. I am the Senior Advocate of Politics, Beauty, and Barber. I am the President of the Concerned Beauty and Barber Professionals. I'm a veteran of the beauty and barber industry. I actually did nails for 18 years. I owned my own salon for 10. And I'm also a candidate for the United States Senate representing the state of Georgia. I love this industry, and I've seen so much in my years. And this is a conversation that has needed to happen for a very long time. And unfortunately, it has taken this kind of movement. It has taken the death of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. It's taken the deaths and the power of social media to shine a light in a very dark place. And this has been a dark place in the beauty and barber industry. So I want to thank you first again, Darcy, and for stepping up and doing this.
Roxanne.
Hello. Thank you again. I appreciate you for all of this. Also, my name is Roxanne Grant Duell. I've been in the industry almost 30 years now. I do honestly. I do everything. Like when I got out of beauty school, it was like whatever I learned in school is what I do. So I'll sit down and do a pedicure if I need to. It's not a thing. Um, we were trained that, when I was in school, we were trained money is green. That's the only color we needed to be worried about. So with that, that's always been my mantra, It's like that's the only color I care about. Okay, if the hair color turns green, oh, that's bad. But if somebody pays me in green, we're good. So but I appreciate this, and um, as part of the education side, now that I'm into the education portion, because I'm an educator, with educating and also still working behind the chair, I've always prided myself on educating people with what I know. I mean, I do not try to speak on anything that I'm not knowledgeable about. But and I didn't grow up, I didn't grow up in I say like the traditional, way that Black people grew up, I would say, because my father is not U.S. born. I am Afro-Latino. So English was my father's second language. So just our whole dynamic was a little bit different. So just my outlook on life and the way um, I approach people and come to people is like it's an open book. And so I try not to judge, um, and just accept everybody for face value. It's like who you are is who you are. I'm not the person to change you. That has to be something that you want to do. So it's sad the state of where we're at as far as in the world right now. Um, and as a culture, African Americans, it's like I have mixed feelings. Some people be like, what? And some people are like, oh, okay. But all I know is growing up, the main thing my father ever taught us was that education is the key. So if you're not going to educate yourself about an issue, on an issue, about anything, then just sit back and be quiet. Because the educated person is the one that people tend to listen to, not the one that's just standing there screaming. So again, like I said, I just thank you for all of this.
Sarah?
Thank you. Thank you so much for organizing this and for bringing us all together. It's necessary, extremely necessary. It was wonderful. And it's been necessary for a long time. Much, much longer than some folks realize, I think. Yeah, so my name is Sarah Piha, and I'm a licensed and insured cosmetologist here in Seattle, Washington. I've been in the industry for about 11 years now, 11 years or so. I run my own small business. I rent a chair here at a salon in Seattle, and I embrace diversity with my career. I do curly hair, I do color, I do barbering, I do kids cuts, and I'm also a makeup artist, and I do makeup artistry for weddings. I do bridal photo shoots. I also do pin-up hair and makeup in that community as well. So I've always felt that it was my objective with my career to be able to serve all different types of textures of hair and all different colors of skin, and that's important to me. And yeah.
Cool, great. And I just wanted to say Sarah was the one who originally inspired this idea to have this conversation because of something that she shared that she saw. She was passing on something that she felt benefited her. And I just reached out to her, would you want to be part of this if I figure out something to do? So I want to thank Sarah for being that catalyst.
Oh.
It's not just about one person, it's all of us. Again, my name is Darcy Harrison. I am a licensed cosmetologist in Washington State. I have been doing hair for 17 years. I co-own a booth rent salon in the Capitol Hill neighborhood of Seattle, which is ironically very close to the epicenter of the Black Lives Matter protests in Seattle. So I'm seeing firsthand the transition between the militarized SPD presence to them leaving and what is occurring now today in the Chaz or the CHOP. So just want people to know that I haven't been extorted, and we don't have massive anarchy or violence or armed guards everywhere. So that's part of my trying to dispel misinformation that's out in the world right now. I work a lot with the LGBTQ plus community. I am very supportive as an ally and a hairstylist who works specifically with gender, queer, non-binary, and trans. And that is a very quick connection to making sure that any religion, race, political affiliation is welcome in my chair if they can handle my sassy mouth. You can handle me, you can handle anything. And I personally feel that if something is affecting my personal world, my business, my personal friends, my just value system. I'm not of the traditional cosmetology knowledge that we're not allowed to speak about religion, politics, or sex or any of those things. I believe that those are conversations that can be hosted with compassion and empathy. They can be challenging. I do have some people that have opposite views than me, but we somehow come to some sort of common ground or consensus, but I do challenge them quite a bit. I'm on the cusp of firing a client at the moment because of his ways of being as a privileged white man. And I think that's important, that money is not more important than your value system. And one client is not going to make or break me. And he makes room, if I eventually do fire him, because it's possible, to make sure that, make room for the clients that actually do appreciate and have similar value systems to my own. Okay, so moving on, we're going to move on to the next prompt, and Tamara is up. Have you experienced racism? Have you in the industry, and detail?
Have I experienced racism in the industry? Not as a professional, not a client professional relationship. No, I haven't, prayerfully, but I have. Haven't, thankfully, but I have experienced it amongst my fellow professionals, and that's where it hurts the most. You know, I think because I'm a Black woman, I'm equipped, because this is how Black women or Black people we're raised a certain way. We're raised to navigate white America. So I can navigate white America around me, but when it was my fellow professional, who I feel like we're on this same playing field, you know, we're doing this together. This is our industry. When it comes from my fellow professionals, and that's where it's hurt. And that's the kind of racism that I've experienced specific to the industry.
Roxanne.
I would say I've a little bit of both. I would agree also with Tamara. When it comes from your own kind, per se, it does tend to sting a little more. But as a professional, I've experienced it, you know, quite a few times, and because I guess my outlook on it, because the way I look at it, I'm just like, I would laugh it off. Yes, it would hurt a little bit, but I would kind of shake it off and just be like, you know, that's your loss, you know, because of course they, you know, people call, they make appointments over the phone, and they don't know, and you know, and they walk in, and it's like, well, like, who's doing me? Like, oh, you mean you're not the receptionist? Oh, what? You know, and it's the, you know, it's that, oh, well, and then when they sit down, you know, all the questions fly, which is totally normal, you know, and I'm just like, okay, it's cool. But over the years, you know, in the beginning when I first started, like, it would hurt really bad. I was just like, oh, I shouldn't do hair anymore, you know. But after some years and doing it and being confident in what I know, I'm just like, you know, that's your loss. You know, that's totally your loss. And so it, you know, it doesn't bother me as much now. Of course, it still happens time to time because of my location. As far as where the salon I work in, I'm the only. So people will come in and they do the look, and they like wonder, and they do the whispers, you know, and so I just go with it. It's just, you know, because, you know, like Tamara said, growing up, we have learned to navigate around, you know, to just adjust, you know, and so I don't even worry about it anymore.
And Darcy, those are skills that white America, you really don't understand. Like I have two sons, 18 and 21, and I've taught them the same way I was taught from the very beginning. This is how you act this is how you are to act if you're approached by police. This is how you act with white people. We've had to teach our children, and we know ourselves, Roxanne, that, you know, this is our norm. And white America has you have no clue on who we are We know more about you than you will ever know about us.
Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I can honestly say that I haven't experienced racism directed towards me in my industry. I'm white presenting. I'm Jewish American. I've experienced prejudice towards my religion, which is usually kind of microaggressions, you know, that sort of thing. Not super overt. I've experienced prejudice because of my hair texture, but no, I haven't experienced racism directed towards myself.
I just want to tell you how beautiful your hair is.
Oh, thank you.
And by the way, everybody here has fabulous hair.
You all have fabulous
We
hair.
would not be representing our industry if we did not have fabulous hair.
Right, exactly. That's another topic. I'm sure we'll get into, but people being scared of my texture, right, of my curl, and even my experience is limited in that way because I'm not a person of color, and I can't personally speak to the type of experience that folks have when someone doesn't know how to do their hair because of their texture, like in that way. So anyway.
This is an interesting question for me. I have not, as a white person of privilege, had racism obviously directed towards me. I'm also of Jewish descendant faith. I come from a mixed religion family. And my experience in the industry with racism has always been sort of the insidious microaggressions that you're talking about, Sarah. I was taught how to do a relaxer once in beauty school, and I did not feel comfortable with that at all because of the concept of how dangerous those chemicals are. And ever since that experience, I have not been in support of relaxing natural texture in my chair because of the danger of those chemicals, as well as I love to embrace texture. In myself, I have wavy, frizzy hair, and I did everything I possibly could to beat it into submission with heat styling. And I've gotten to the point where I'm kind of over it, and so I just wear my hair up or wear human hair falls or wigs or stuff like that. So I've embraced that, and I enjoy it. I'm really glad that that's something that people are becoming more and more comfortable with. But when I was an assistant at a high-level salon in Seattle, I cannot say I ever remember a person of color walking in that high-end salon or getting a service at that high-end salon. There was no people of color working there. I also was extremely frustrated. You know, when do we get to learn how to work with curly or textured hair? Like 80% of the world has some sort of texture to their hair. Oh, wait, we don't teach that. And I was like, why? You would rather tell them that they have to heat style their hair into submission, even though they're not going to do that every day, and it's not going to look good, it's not going to represent the work? Well, I would rather have them feel good about who they are. And so that sort of led me down the train eventually, when I was no longer in that salon, to embrace everything about everybody and try and just support their confidence. And that it wasn't about aesthetics or trying to whiteify a person of color. What was about what you feel good in. And also I've had frustration in trying to make space for BIPOC in cosmetology as a leader in our state. I've had pushback when I was trying to support the local legislation that we had to support the hair discrimination ban. We're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up. But I guess I can segue since I'm the last one. That's the next subject. The Crown Act is something that is happening from state to state across the United States because people of color are being discriminated against for jobs and housing and credit, and sometimes even just when they walk into a business, you know, just by their very hairstyle, whether it's dreads or locks or twists or cornrows or braids or whatever it is, being seen as a colored, I'm using quotes because that is not a word, I think it's an offensive word, but a person of color's hairstyle. I think it's a no-brainer, personally. Anything that is going to support people getting the hairstyle that they want is good for our industry. And it was really, it angered me, it frustrated me, it saddened me. I was disappointed. I tried pushing back, and it wasn't ultimately successful. I even tried to make a compromise. Can we come out as neutral on it? And it didn't really happen. And I would have to say that I'm disappointed in myself that I backed down, that I didn't push it further. But I tend to be the one who's the most vocal, and I get the most focus of frustrated energy because I am comfortable being vocal. So that's something that I'm gonna continue to work on, and that's part of why I created Vocal Cosmetologist, is to make sure that that is something that doesn't happen in my world. And I'm gonna keep pushing that in the future. But let's move on to talking about the Crown Act some more. Tamara, what impact on our industry do you think the Crown Act will have if it moves forward from state to federal legislation and it gets passed?
I think that it will open the door to opportunities that obviously our hair is a barrier. So I believe that this is something that we have to continue to push. This is something, it's the stigma that goes along with, you know, wearing your hair in locks and braids and twists and having all the color. I mean, it's a stigma, and they want to say that you're some certain kind of person. When those of us that are in the beauty and barber industry, we know that this is how we're creative people. And, you know, a lot of times this is self-expression. This is how we, you know, show who else we are with, you know, doing crazy things with our hair, or, you know, just, you know, and Black people, you know, that's who we are culturally. That's who we are. You know, that's our ethnicity is all about the braids and the locks and the twist and the natural. Just let it do whatever it's going to do. We're just going to let it do it. And it is who we are as a people. And white America has, you know, we've always had to conform to the straight hair, to the neat styling. You know, we've had to conform. And I think I'm just glad that we're in this time, because, you know, we're in a time now where people can be who they are and naturally. And I'm just excited about what this Crown Act is, and pushing back on, like I said, the stigma that comes along with wearing your hair in its natural state, or however you decide to wear it.
Roxanne?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I'm like, did she hear me?
No, I was like, did somebody say? Oh, yeah. Sorry. I think it's going to be, it will be great, because again, you know, to piggyback a little bit off of what Tamara said, it's going to open the doors for so many people, because so many talented individuals have not been, you know, hired, chosen, picked, however you want to say it, for positions because of their hair. Has nothing to do with their ability, has nothing to do with their mind, has nothing to do what they can bring to the table. You're basing it off of what their hair looks like. you know, and it's not that they're coming in and it's a mess, you know, it's not, you know, messy or anything like that, but it's, you just have an opinion because you look at someone's hair and you think you know what type of person they are, you know, and you know, yes, we're talking about, you know, it's designed right now, we're talking about with the African American women, but I mean, honestly, even when, if you're talking about a Caucasian, you know, a Caucasian woman, you know, we see the little young girl and she's got the super duper jet black hair, and then with the black eye, you automatically think, oh, she's a bad person, you know, because she's goth or whatever. But it, we just, you know, as society, just period, we just need to learn how to just sit down and talk to people and find out who they are. What are you about? Like that, then you can make a decision on that person. But to look at somebody's hair and be like, oh, you know, I've had an employer one time I came in, I had braids, and they were the fatter ones. And she told me, her words were, oh, that looks, now other people were like, oh, that looks really nice on you. That, you know, that compliments you, you know, your facial structure, blah, you know, all different things. And she was just like, oh, it looks so, that looks so ethnic on you. And I was like, what does that even mean? You know, it's even because you know, and for me growing up with me being of a darker complexion of black, because again, with black people, you know, we are prejudiced amongst ourselves because if you're too light or if you're too dark, you know, you kind of got to be that in between, you know, so we tend to prejudice each other with that. So for me, I know growing up, because I was darker skinned, that was a whole nother thing within itself, because you can't be pretty and be dark skinned. It was like that was kind of one of those things that it's impossible. And even to get complimented was like, oh, you're such a pretty dark skinned girl. Can I just be pretty? Do you have to put the dark skin part in there? You know, but that was always part of it. And so it amazes me, you know, like I say, if this goes through, that, you know, I never understood it myself, because I'm like, what does hair have to do with me doing the job? Like, unless it's too long and it's in my way and I can't see, I totally get it. But what does my hair have to do with me completing the task that you are going to pay me to do? Because if it has nothing to do with it, why are we talking about it? You know? And so that, you know, it needs to pass. To me, you know, it shouldn't even have been a thing. It shouldn't be a thing, you know, because it has nothing to do with ability. When you go to school, they don't let you in school based on how much hair you have or do not have. You know, you don't get a PhD because you went the whole entire time with no braids in your hair. It has nothing to do with it. So it's, again, that's part of society's way of keeping blacks out of, you know, that, to me, that's the way of keeping you out of corporate America. You know, that's the way of keeping you just enough, you know, because if you're going to conform, then again, you know, like Tamara said, you got to have the straight, long, flowy hair. You know, it's got to look like, you know, you get up and you can just brush it and that's it. But, you know we can't do that at all. Like, that's not the thing. We got like an hour and a half, 2 hour minimum to do some hair. So that's why, you know, the whole, you know, you see all the memes, don't touch a black woman's hair. That's why. We don't have time to be doing this all over again. You know?
Like in Good Hair with Chris Rock, I'm sorry to interrupt, you can stop me,
yes.
but where how do you have sex with a woman with a weave? You touch from here down.
I'm telling you, growing up, especially, you know, when you were younger and it's like prom time and homecoming and you just got your hair done, Look, it ain't nothing to go to sleep like this. Like, you had a little
I've
rough
done that with
night, and you
their
slept
first
good,
day.
you know? Or even, look, I've even slept with my head hanging off the bed. Just enough to hold that piece right there, just let it hang. You know, so it's a thing, you know. If hey, I just chalk that up to the price you gotta pay for beauty. You know. Yeah,
We
like
all
I
seem
said,
to
the
pay a
crown apple
price.
is the best.
Yeah.
We just, that needs to go through. It shouldn't even be a discussion. It shouldn't be a topic. I feel like we shouldn't even have to. That shouldn't even be something that they need to vote on. It just needs to go through because it has nothing
Right.
to do with ability.
Sarah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I wanna echo what Roxanne and Tamara and what you're saying. And I'm going to piggyback on it by saying that I feel the current society in the US punishes people for the hair that naturally grows out of their head and the way that they choose to style it and wear it. And it's wrong. So wrong. I just remember, even, gosh, was it last year or maybe earlier this year, it made the news. There was a boy who had locks in his hair and he was doing sports, and there was a coach or an authority figure within his sport. Didn't they cut his hair right on the court?
They told
That
him
was
you can't be part of the, yeah.
the
You can't be
I
part of the
mean,
match if you don't cut them.
it makes me want to cry. And that people, that there's it that people don't get credit for their experience and their qualifications and job opportunities because of the texture of their hair, because of how they have it styled. And it's no matter how they're choosing to style their hair, whether it's braids or extensions or wearing it natural. It needs to stop. It's absolutely horrific that it even is a thing that needs to be stopped. And it's
pretty
yeah,
ridiculous.
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and it's prejudiced, and it's systemic racism, and it's yeah. That hair should be a barrier for anything your glorious self wants to do with your life. With your talent, your knowledge, your beauty. I mean, it's just, yeah. Anyway, that's how I feel about that.
I think I have an interesting perspective on this, that I have bought a home in what was traditionally an African American neighborhood. And especially in Seattle, we have an issue of redlining, in which people of color were relegated to certain neighborhoods because they couldn't get mortgages outside of the neighborhood because of the way that they code mortgages and mortgage loans and things like that. And I think this is the new kind of redlining for housing, not just employment. Just like when in the documentary 13th, that they may have eradicated slavery, but they converted and mutated it into a new form, and it's called the industrial prison complex. And I think, I was reading a lot of stuff to try and prepare for this, and also, ongoing education, that hairstyle is a new way to discriminate against housing, especially in Seattle. We have expensive apartments and rent, And, you know, there was kind of secret shoppers that have been sent out that, you know, a Caucasian man with a, you know, programmer resume goes to apply for an apartment and has the money and the income. And then a person of color with a certain hairstyle goes in and applies for the same thing, also is perfectly capable of getting that place with their income or employment, good rental history, all of it. And the person selected is the person with the white skin and the appropriate hairstyle. And so my concern is not just about job opportunities, it's about relegating people to certain neighborhoods. And also gentrification is an issue, especially in Seattle. And I can't say I was part of the wave to create the gentrification in the Central District, but I'm in an entire building of white people who complain about the stupidest things. And I try in my own maybe not so subtle ways to be like, hey, here's this documentary about our neighborhood. Here is the history of why that house over there is an open door policy for you to come hang out, because there needs to be a safe place for people of color to go and have community in what is traditionally their community. So I wanted to point that out. And I think for the Crown Act, it can only unite our industry. There's a lot of, well, I don't do that hair. I don't do like, I might not specialize in braids or locks. I don't have that skill, but that doesn't mean that I don't do people of color's hairstyles. It means that I am not comfortable with doing those particular styles because I don't have the training in it. But I have people of color that come to me all the time for cut and color. I specialize in cut and color, and I do formal and vintage styling and micro lock extensions. But what I can see is that people coming up in the industry, if they are taught not to be like, ugh, that's natural texture, I don't want to deal with that. Or like, if I had been exposed to more things in beauty school that are not traditionally white hairstyles, I would have learned it. And I blame myself that I didn't seek that education out. I didn't find that I was able to learn how to do barber haircuts because someone took the time to be like, you're going to get a person of color in their chair and you're going to do a barber fade and I'm going to teach you how to do it. And now I feel completely comfortable with haircuts and hair color, with natural texture on all types of people. But I think if we start from the ground up in the educational foundation to expose people to not just what comes in the door for their practical hours, bringing in different kinds of specialties across the board would be going a long way towards creating an environment in which we don't have more of our industry cultivating this system of oppression within our industry about hair texture and hairstyle, and therefore create more money for ourselves and more business for ourselves. It can only help us. It cannot hurt us. It's the frustration that I have with this discussion about the Crown Act and hair discrimination ban is, how is this bad? Name one thing about that that's bad. And if I hear one more person call it the ethnic hair ban, I'm gonna slap them upside the face. Because ethnic is like a slur to me. Is a slur, not like, is a slur. And is not acceptable in my presence, and I will always call that out. So again, I'm going to speak to fellow white people of privilege. It is our job to do the emotional labor, to call that out when we see it. Just like those cops were standing beside George Floyd when he is saying, I can't breathe. Think about that when you experience seeing and hearing your colleagues, your bosses, your owners, your clients, call it out. Make them feel uncomfortable. Your soul will not regret it. You're doing the right thing. And you're doing the emotional labor that is not the responsibility of people of color. They have enough on their plate. They deal with enough. And it is not for me to make other white people feel comfortable. I got someone actually on my own page today trying to tone police me because I was frustrated that it seems like people are treating this Chaz Chop area in our neighborhood as some sort of block party and selfie station. And someone had put up signs, "Are you learning? Do you realize this isn't a party, this is a protest?" And someone, well, don't you think you shouldn't be alienating people? That's not my problem. If you're uncomfortable, that's you. If you can't handle being challenged, if you feel threatened, that doesn't mean I threatened you. You just feel threatened. Period. So let's move on. Unless we have more discussion, if we want to have some more back and forth on this, because we could go on.
I like how you put a period there.
Good. I think we all said what we need to. Yeah. All right. Next up. Oh, this is a hard one. Whew. All right. Tamara's up first. I always look to you for these hard questions, Tamara.
Oh no.
Well, we're all gonna have to answer it, but you're up first, so you're on deck. What suggestions do you have to remove racism that has threaded into society and therefore our industry?
What suggestion do I have is reparations. Reparations for those, for Black people in America who are descendants of slavery. Because the statistics say that by 2053, Black America will have zero net wealth. Right now, white America has 10 times more wealth than Black people, than Black America. 10 times. You have a 400-year head start. And you got to think about slavery, Black codes, Jim Crow, no Green New Deal, no GI Bill. Think about redlining, mass incarceration, war on drugs, all these systemic things that are cumulative, that we're still living with today. I am maybe 2 generations removed. I remember growing up when my uncles had an outhouse. I remember my family members not having a bathroom. I remember the outhouse. I remember my family members not wearing shoes. I'm 47 years old. I remember this. So this was more recent than not. I remember the tobacco truck that would come around to pick people up to go and pick tobacco. I remember this. As a little girl, I remember this. So I'm not far removed from these memories of Black people being oppressed, and we still are. The generational wealth that white America has accumulated, we must now, America has to fix it. So my answer to it, which is a part of my political platform, is reparations, where we were property. America knows who we are. We're not a lost people. We were property. You use our bodies. Our bodies were more valuable than the railroads, and our bodies were more valuable than anything in this country. You built this country on the backs of Black people. It has to be repaired. So my answer to this is reparations, where we have an agency specific to descendants of slavery in this country, where we have a database that shows who these people are and who these descendants are. And we need everything it takes to repair Black America, Africans that were enslaved in this country. So that is my answer.
Roxanne.
Look, piggyback, I wholeheartedly agree. Reparations is a start. And the whole, structure wise, like dialogue, period. Education needs to be updated, and people need to learn. That's where a lot of, if you want to say that's where the white privilege comes from, because Blacks have always been, it's like, oh no, prime example, I guess, for me is, I always think about, of course, is, okay, just say Black History Month. Okay. I'm like, number one, this is short. It's the shortest month of the year. That's the shortest one. Number one, okay? That bothers me. Number one, it's the shortest. Okay. But then number two is that every time, oh, let's do a Black History celebration. Oh, we're going to do this. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks. I love them. Yes, they did a lot. There's more than them. Can we teach our kids about somebody else? Like, because I remember my daughter being in the 4th grade and she came out, we're having a Black History program at school. And she's like, and I got to do a report on who? She's like, Martin Luther King. We're not doing another report on Martin Luther King. This is 4th grade. We've done one in 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. We're not doing another one. Like, it's not going to change. Let's find somebody else, you know? And so, you know, and even, you know, this year, my son, he was in an organization at school. He's in high school. They were having a Black History event, and they were doing a step, you know, and they were gonna have some signs and all that. And midway through it, they decided, instead of a Black History event, let's do an all-inclusive. Why? It's Black History Month. Why do we need to include everybody? Well, we don't want anybody to feel what? It's Black History Month. There's no other way to feel. Are you Black? Okay, well, there you go. And he got so mad, so upset, you know, and it's like, what can you do? You can't do anything. And it's just, we just need to go back on top of reparations. We need to go back on, you know, I know it's probably totally unrealistic. We need to change every history book and update them and make them for real, like make them current. Because like I had a friend, we were talking, and she made the comment, or they made the comment, and they said, you know, their white friends was asking questions, and it was, what can I do as a white American? Stop thinking of this as, you know, you look at this stuff and you're like, oh, Black history. You look at it as history. Whereas for African American, no, this is our life. It's not history. History's in the past. Like, you think it's over, said and done. No, we live this every day, you know, and we ask, you know, and we asked her, it's like, prime example, you know, people are like, oh, we don't understand what white privilege is and this and this and that. Just close your eyes. It's like, close your eyes and think about this. Tell me, how many times of the day do you consider your color? How many times a day do you you worry about your skin color? Because I've watched a forum it was at church, and one of our elder pastors, he was 73, 74 years old. He made a comment, and he said, as a Black American, his every step that we take is calculated. Mm-hmm. He said, to this very day, even with COVID and everything going on, he said, do you know, I will not walk into a bank with a face mask on at a certain time of the day. He was like, I will not put myself in certain places in certain times of the day. Because, God forbid, how he said, we all look alike. You know? And it was like, wow. You know, that hit, you know, that hits home. Because you do think about, you know, as a white American, you don't think about your color. You walk freely. You go wherever, whenever. You never have to worry about, is somebody going to say something to me? I wonder how they're going to look at me. You know, unless you come in just doing something. But you never have to calculate or worry about when and where. You know? And so we need to start with that. I mean, because as far back as history goes, when they split it up, white and Black, white has always been superior, pure, all this. But when you think of Black, you automatically think of negativity. You think of bad. So we need to cut that. Like, that needs to get, like, go away. Go away, you know? Because automatically when Black, oh, they're Black. You can, you know, some people, literally, you can see their faces. Like their whole face expression just changes. And it's like, really? You know, I've been someplace walking and I've actually, you know, we accidentally kind of like brushed. I literally had a woman one day look at me like, and yes, I was wrong, but I said it ain't gonna rub off. It's not gonna come off, I promise. Been here all my life. It's not gonna come off on you. Because that's what she gave me, like, oh my God, you know. And so we need to start, like I said, we need to start with reparations, like Tamara said, and then we need to go into history and change history, because all Black is not bad. All Black is not bad. Just like when they do some kind of report or you know, something come up on the news and it irritates and aggravates me beyond all get out, they find the African American person that looks the worst. She can't put two words together to make a sentence. You know, she looked, and she's supposed to be the spokesperson for the whole. Like, why? Why? You know, we know she want 15 minutes of fame, but why did you pick her? And then and then you will see that everywhere on the news, all day, every day. And that's supposed to be the ideal Black person. That's what all Black people are like. You know, when they will always do something to negate. You always put, you know, this young man, he did this, and this. He's made bad choices, but he's the spokesperson for all Black young men. That's wrong. Stop doing that. You know, and so we need to start, like I said, we need to start with the reparations, and then we need to go into history, and we need to change it all and get it all together.
Sarah.
Yeah. 100% agree. I think that you see one good way to bring about change is through legislation, through communities getting involved in kind of like what you're doing, Darcy, in some ways with you know, getting involved in changing laws or fighting potential laws, fighting potential bills. But in the cosmetology industry specifically, I think that the education in the textbooks needs to shift. I think that the state boards that are done in every single state, those need to be reassessed and shift. Yeah.
Sarah, can I piggyback on something you just said, the state boards? Do you mean the cosmetology, like the curriculums? Are you talking about that specifically?
Yeah.
Let me.
I do. I mean the you know, so there's a few different cosmetology curriculums that are used in beauty schools. One of them is called Pivot Point, which you're all familiar with. There's another one called, I think it's Milady, right? I know Aveda has their own texts curriculum. I know that other different beauty schools have created their own curriculum that they follow for their specific school. And I think that racism and prejudice is systemic within and discrimination is systemic within those curriculums. So I think it's not enough to have in a beauty school, it's not enough to just have a teacher who is
versed in everything.
Who is diverse, right? Who is teaching topics that are not in the curriculum. It's not enough. It needs to change on the level of the curriculum, right? And then curriculum is also designed specifically for to educate the individual for what they need to know in order to pass the state boards, so they can get their license in their state, right? And so another way we can change our industry is to examine state boards. Yeah. I don't know. Is that more clear?
I was going to offer a little insight into the curriculum. There's two things that happens with the division that's in our industry. I'm going to talk about it from just really quick, Darcy, just from two perspectives.
No, please do.
We have this integration where we want to see this curriculum kind of morph into something that's more inclusive of all different types of hair textures, so that we can offer services across the board. Like, I get that, and I'm with that. But then there's this side of it that you may not know, where it's preservation. So we have integration, where we want to bring it all together. But there's this other side of it that the industry may not really understand, is preservation. And when I use the word preservation, I'm talking about Black hair. It has been the root of our success as a people. And I think Darcy's going to spin into this. I saw this in your notes. It has been the root of our success as a people. Dr. King's first check came from the beauty industry. Like, we have the pillars of the Black community has been the church, and it's been our barbershops and our hair salons. Mm-hmm. So it's sacred there. Like I say, so going back to why I use the word preservation, the division that's there, I think, needs to come. We need to have salons that are more integrated, where we have Black multicultural services being offered. But Black hair is something that Black people, if nothing else, we own. Darcy and Sarah, Roxanne and I will tell you, we own the hair on our heads. And that has truly been the catalyst to us being able to sustain ourselves as a people in this country, because everything else has been stolen and taken from us. And we have to be mindful, even the hair, with having weaves and wigs, that is being taken from us too. But the one thing that we still have an economy with as a people is the hair on our heads. So there has to be some sort of respect for preserving that which is ours as Black people in the beauty and barber industry. And I think that becomes a bigger conversation, and what that needs to look like, because this is all we have. Until America gives us something else, this is all we own, is the hair on our heads. So I'll stop there, Darcy, because I think you were going to transition into some more with that anyway.
Well, it's true. Well, I want to also agree with everything that has already been said by everyone here. I believe that there has to be a consequence for stealing lives from their place of origin to build an economy on the backs of Black people. And so reparations, however, the people of color community decide, not white people deciding what reparations are. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel personally equipped to prescribe myself as a white person what has to happen. I think a lot of listening has to happen, a lot of conversations and dialogue and collaboration and goodwill and benefit of the doubt, not for white people, but from white people to people of color, that they have soul scars from, they say that trauma is passed down through the DNA. And I believe that in my soul, that you cannot do anything to rectify those injuries without ponying up skin in the game. And that's why it frustrates me that I see people going to a protest and then a week later they're not speaking out against something that's happening right in front of them. That's the skin in the game, not the protest. Although that's helpful. It's, you know, it gets press and things like that. It helps pass legislation, but it's not the only thing. But I believe that the education part is very important. Education throughout the nation for everybody and also our industry. I've become increasingly frustrated, especially with what's going on with COVID-19 and not just dealing with the George Floyd catalyst over trying to deal with this pivotal moment in our history. That I didn't find out about Madam C.J. Walker until Netflix does a documentary. Why was I not taught the multiple levels and layers of history in our industry of producing products? And I mean, she was a first marketing guru. She was one of the first millionaires. She helped, and she didn't just make it for herself. She made it for her family, and she extended that wealth to her community. And if I had learned about that, I mean, that's a better example than, and I, you know, just throwing a name out there, it's a better example than Tabitha Coffey, a better example than, you know, Guy Tang and all these other people. I would rather hear about the foundation of how we got to where we are and have that be standardized nationally. I'm sick and tired of these states making up their own rules that don't make sense, and then we can't have an actual conversation on the federal level. Why isn't booth rental completely allowed in every single state? Why is there efforts to get rid of booth rental? And why is there an, you know, and we get into all these offshoots of why education hasn't served us. You know, I wasn't taught business. I wasn't taught the actual truth of the history of the industry. I was, you know, all of these things. There's holes in our education that serves the purpose of keeping us dumb. You're just a hairstylist. And I think that the education part, I don't care if you got a traditional college degree. I got a traditional college degree. I barely use it. Theater, acting, what the hell? I mean, yeah, it helps me with this kind of public speaking stuff and presence. But I mean, it was the liberal arts part. And I wish that we could treat cosmetology as its own degree, and that you learn about, it's not just about your hours. It's not just about the state board. It's about becoming a well-rounded individual, which would be learning how to deal with, okay, if what happens in the salon when you experience and see racism? What happens when a trans person comes in, they're like, you're not passing, you know, and all of this stuff. There's so many more layers to that, the psychology part, the business part. I mean, the fact that we have to pick up so much knowledge after beauty school is absolutely frustrating and completely unconscionable. We are not preparing these individuals for the world.
Yeah.
That's on purpose though, Darcy.
Yeah. I absolutely agree that how this system has been built to keep us, because, and this is what I learned, and I'm not going to get too much further into it because we have to move on, but that's what I learned in the last couple of years in Washington State, is that the reason why they want to put the thumb on us is because we are the absolute only profession who sits with multiple individuals a day and has conversations and creates a relationship and touches them. Now, mind you, that's a little at risk right now with COVID-19, but we're working it out. We're figuring it out. Okay. But absolutely, we are powerful, and we are not seeking out the well-rounded education. Oh, I want to learn about blonding and balayage, and I want to learn about how I can become an influencer. Screw all that. Like, real shit. Excuse my French. And having uncomfortable moments for us white people. Again, I'm going to reiterate that it's not a game. It's not supposed to be entertaining. It's not supposed to be a documentary you watch and then you talk about it the next day and forget about it, right? It's supposed to be, you're supposed to ingest it and take it in and process it and have that marry in your soul so that you can be part of the solution. We each individually have to be part of the solution. So that's why, you know, I agree with all of this, but, you know, again, the prescription from my end, that's above my pay grade. But yeah, all of it. Okay, so this also seems like a good piggyback. Non-BIPOC hair clients and influencers culturally appropriating BIPOC hairstyles and texture. Prime example, and things like that, who are wearing cornrows and things that are traditionally of the African American community. Tamara.
Well, America's not new to this. I mean, I remember in the 80s when Bo Derek, was it the 80s or the 70s when Bo Derek did it? What year was that, Roxanne?
Oh, that was 70s, yeah.
Yeah, when Bo Derek did it, and it was like this blonde white woman with cornrows running on the beach as if she had invented something. Yes. So America is not new. This is not a new game they play. So it's, Black people, we just brush it off and create something else.
Yeah.
Roxanne.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, sometimes it's pretty funny when I see it, because I'm just like, your stylist should have told you that's not very flattering for you. I mean, everybody can't wear everything. So and that's my old school, just being like, you know what? I'm the stylist that would tell you no. I'm like, girl, that ain't even gonna look cute. Yeah, I mean, no, we're not doing that. You ain't got to face too much meat in the back. I'm gonna tell you all the truth. Might not want to hear it, but no. It's like I said, it is what it is now. It's just like, okay, I look at it as and not everybody, but you do have some people, even when I'm in the salon sometimes and I'm doing a client's hair and I might be doing some braids or I might be doing a weave or something like that. And, a few of my clients are just like, they get to a point sometimes where they're like, can I come late? Because some of the white clients will just sit there like, and then it's like, that's so amazing. It's like a forced type of conversation. And my clients, my clients are good. My clients are sitting there and they're just like, okay. But sometimes their attitude is just like, really? You've never ever seen this? How old are they? They're like as old as I am. I know they've seen this on somebody before. But it's that forced type of conversation, and let me just say something, and it gets to be, that makes it more of an uncomfortable, because it's not anything amazing, but it's like, oh, I wish I can get my hair like this. You can get anything you want, but you won't, so it's just like, you don't have to just make conversation. But, and it just, I look at it and I, sometimes I laugh and sometimes I'm like, yeah, okay, but I just look at it as a Black woman growing up, especially even in beauty school. And beauty school I went to, like I said, I grew up in the South, I'm from North Carolina. So the owner of the beauty school I went to was a white, blonde hair, blue eyed lady. My educator she was from Texas, skin, little tiny redhead, teased the heck out of her hair, but they taught me everything I needed to know. You know what I'm saying? They knew everything. There wasn't anything that they didn't know. And then I had another educator, Miss Kathy, and her also, she would everything. So it wasn't, oh, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to learn how to do that. No, everybody's going to do this. And they would go so far as, we're going to take you out of your comfort zone. So all these Black women coming in, oh no, you're not going to do that. I rolled so many perms. I rolled perms all day, every day, and I teased. And back then, teasing is like, she'd walk by, she'd take that comb and stick it in. If it came out, you ain't teasing enough, keep going, especially if you're on your mannequin. She go like this and that mannequin pops off. Oh no, and so it just goes back to, like I said, when I'm growing up, and I'm pretty sure Tamara heard of it too, is what we learned as far as our hair. Our is our crown and glory. A woman's hair is your crown and glory. It doesn't matter what your day is like. It doesn't matter what's going on. Nothing matters. If your hair ain't right, you're not right. Okay? Somebody can give you like some $3,000 pair of earrings and be like, oh, and you like, yeah, no, my hair ain't right. I ain't wearing them just yet. You get tickets to see to a concert to see whoever you ever wanted to see in your life. You know, front row, VIP. If your hair ain't right, you ain't going. I'm not going, you know. And so it just goes back to that, you know, our hair is our crown and glory. So when I see white women with a black hairstyle, you know, it's kind of funny, you know, sometimes, you know, but I'm good with it. But it's like, in the same sense, I'm to a point too where I'm just like, don't disrespect it. Don't
Right.
disrespect it. You know, there's a meaning behind it. You know, you know, a lot of ladies now with the Fulani braids and all this. Oh, those are Beyonce braids. No, sweetheart, them ain't Beyonce braids. Beyonce didn't invent them. I'm gonna need you to go check your history and find out what they were, because hairstyles were were part of culture. They were part of they were a status symbol. So if you don't understand what you're doing, don't do it. Don't do it.
There.
I mean, absolutely. I don't have a lot more to add. I feel that what Roxanne and what Tamara is saying is, you know, um, speaks volumes. And I will say, you know, I think that there's a lot of people that do choose a style for their hair when they don't understand that they could potentially be choosing that, and because in their mind they're exoticizing another culture or another traditional hairstyle that is not really typically their own. And I definitely do feel like there's a lot of people that culturally appropriate hairstyles when they don't understand the history and the appropriateness and the sensitivity around that. Um, yeah, yeah.
Okay, looks like Tamara's going to have to step off. So she has a previously scheduled item to attend to. So we're going to send her off with wonderful love and grace and appreciation. And thank you so much for participating. And I want to remind everyone that Tamara is running for Senate in Georgia. And if you are in Georgia, to look her up to support her campaign. She is a pillar of not only her community, but the cosmetology industry. And I trust her and idolize her greatly. And I've donated myself to her campaign a couple times, and to keep an eye on her, because she's on the rise to the national platform, girl.
Yes. Thank you, Darcy, for putting this all together. I love you guys and I appreciate this so very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
You too. So we're going to continue with the end of the conversation. I wanted to speak to the cultural appropriation. I think it's on us stylists that we don't do those hairstyles for people that are not people of color. That we draw a line that, again, the dollar is, you know, yes, money is important, but having integrity and supporting the history of a culture's hairstyles is extremely important. I get offended when I see these white girls with dreadlocks myself as a white person. I think it's trying to borrow cred from another culture to support your personal identity or personality politics or whatever. So I think it's up to us professionals to sort of have a boundary and hold that boundary, be like, yeah, that's just not something I'm going to do for you. You know, let's and politely offer an alternative, something that's still fashionable and stylish and complimentary to them. And that's our job as a professional. We sort of have to have these kind of very sensitive conversations, you know, even when it comes to bangs. Yeah, I'm not so sure about those bangs for you, you know. Same thing. I'm not so sure that this is, you know, your hair can handle this level of lightening today. That's part of the conversation. I'm not sure that's a style that it should be in the repertoire that I offer for you. So, you know, and word it in direct redirect. And, you know, you can have the conversation about it and have an open dialogue about it. And having that educational moment, if you feel comfortable leading that conversation, but also not taking that on yourself if you don't have the education to speak to it thoroughly, finding those resources, seeking out those resources to make sure that you're not participating in cultural appropriation as a professional. Okay, so last question. Here we go. What can a stylist do in their everyday lives to battle racist behaviors or comments in the salon environment when it comes to clients, comes to colleagues, owners, employers, vendors, platform artists, et cetera, pay grades, all of it? Roxanne.
What can, let's see, let me read that one more time. We can, as far as we can do, I mean, it's, again, I think it all just boils down to education. I mean, we have to learn how to educate ourselves about different things, and different cultures and what we're doing and what we allow. Because a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people will say all inclusive or yeah, I do it all, and then until
They don't.
you know,
They don't.
and you know, even as educator, you know, in school, you know, it's, you know, like we were talking about too with in the book, like the Milady and the pivot point and all that kind of stuff. It needs to be more, it can be more generalized, and then of course go into specializations, of course, but learning the basics need to be there, you know, because we don't do, we say textured hair, and Sarah, that's like your hair. Your hair is textured. But when people say textured hair, they turn it from your hair to the color of someone's skin. And that's where the divide has to stop happening. You knowing texture has nothing to do with the color of your skin. We're not talking about skincare. I'm talking about your hair.
Right.
What does your hair need? What is your hair saying it needs? When I do an analysis, what does your hair need? Okay. And with them saying that textured hair is a specialty, it's not. It's hair. Hair is hair. What texture do you have? Because like I said, I mean, how much of America has textured hair? How many women do you truly, truly know that just have that bone straight hair? Like, how many? It's not that many anymore, especially, you know. So we need to teach accordingly and stop turning it into a race. Because, like, I was just taught with in the salon, you know, doing hair, that hair, there's, this is not the race place. Like, this is not the thing. Like, you do hair. Like, the question is, can I do the service that you like? Are you satisfied? You know, that's it. That's it. It has nothing to do with what color you are. You know, as a client coming in, if you have a problem with race, maybe you need to say that on the phone, and then we'll cut you off right there. We'll go ahead and redirect right there. But when somebody wants their, it's like, do you want your hair done or not? Like, that's it. Just like as stylists, we don't negotiate price. Well, if I bring my own shampoo, will you knock off $15? Like, no, not at all. You just want to use that shampoo, you know. Well, what if I come in and I'm already shampooed and blow dried? Can you knock off? No, we don't negotiate anything else. This is what you're gonna do. So it just needs, we need to set the boundaries, and we need to stay with them. We need to be consistent, you know. Like I said, as an educator, I try to teach my students everything, because it's not, a lot of them feel like, some, you know, I've had students be like, well, she doesn't want me to do her hair because I'm white. No, actually, that's not true. She doesn't want you to do her hair because you're touching her like she has the plague. You've approached her like this. You don't know, you're not familiar with the service you're about to do because you haven't done a lot. But guess what? This lady over here that wants a balayage, you have never done a balayage before, but guess what? You've asked her how her day was. You know how many kids she got. Like, you know everything there is to know about. Y'all done laughed and joked, and you done got her something to drink. This lady right here, though, you're not familiar with either. But it's all about presentation. How did you just present yourself to her automatically with the attitude of, oh Lord, this ain't gonna go well? But this one right here, you did the same thing, and you even told her you were scared, but your whole attitude, you said it with a smile. This lady right here, all she wants to know is that you're gonna give her your all. You're gonna give her 100%. Because truth be told, Black women, 9 times out of 10, we're not doing a review. We're not doing all that. You got one shot. You mess it up, guess what? We learn from that. We're not coming back. You ain't given 2 times to mess me up. We're just not coming back. Whereas a white woman will write a review. She will call. She will do all of that. But as a Black woman, to even say the words, I'm not paying, 9 times out of 10, they're automatically like, we'll call the police. But the white woman, she can walk right on out the door and nothing. Everybody's just standing there in amazement. But you're ready to lock the Black woman up. Her hair's not right. Her hair's not done. Her hair looks horrible. There's nothing ever given to be like, well, let me fix it. Let me find someone that could do it. Let me refer you. Let me give you these products. Let me do anything. It turns back onto, that's how they see. I knew she was going to act like that. Because when a Black woman gets mad, and you know the stereotype is she going to roll her neck and she going to do all this, then it's like, uh-oh, we're going to have to call the police. It's going to get, all Black women aren't loud. All Black women don't do that. You know, I honestly, as a Black woman, I've met more white women that do that than Black women, you know, but it's looked at, but it's looked at on a differently, but it's the same thing. Instead of, I paid for a service, you didn't meet my needs, so I should get a refund or I should get something. But when it comes to a Black woman and that happens, she's just out of luck. And she's got to do what? Go home and do her hair all over again. Or try to find somebody else and pay again. Whereas with the white woman, we're going to do it and do it and do it. I mean, we'll do it 3-4 times just so she doesn't write that review. You know, so it just has to change. You know, yes, we all want customer satisfaction, but we have all learned too in the industry, as long as we've been in it, you can't please everybody. You cannot please everybody, but you need to give your all to everybody. And if that person comes in and you just ain't feeling them, then you just tell them straight out, you know what? This ain't gonna work. I don't think I'm gonna be able to service you today. We're not even gonna start. I will be glad to refer you to somebody and, you know, go from there. But we just need to change as a whole, you know, as an industry, we need to change, and we need to learn how to welcome everything and anything. You know, if I'm working right here beside, you know, my white coworker, and she's doing something, I'm like, what you doing? You know, she should be willing to teach me just like I'll be willing to teach her. It's not top secret. Like, we're not gonna win the Nobel Peace Prize right now. Like, it's not up for money. So how is it gonna hurt me to give you the knowledge that I have and you give me the knowledge that you have? How does it hurt? It doesn't hurt. It brings you together. It makes you cohesive, you know, so that everybody can sustain, because, you know, there's enough hair out there for everybody. It's enough skin out there for everybody. Nobody has to be struggling. Nobody has to be fighting. Like, we don't. Everybody has their specialty and what they choose to do, what they love to do, but it doesn't negate anything else, you know. And I think as a whole, they need to, you know, even with, you know, I'm licensed in North Carolina and I'm licensed here. There's just different things, as you say, on the state level that need to change as far as the state board. There's zero anything in there with natural or textured hair. Okay, even relaxer on the state board is a joke. It's literally one inch. One inch. It's untimed, but they put so much fear about a relaxer when we learn about pH. And lightener with 20 is a higher pH than relaxer. So we will double process and tone and some purple shampoo. Like, we will destroy the hair, but you're putting the fear of, literally the fear of God in people over the relaxer.
Yeah.
But that's because the way it's being taught, number one, because the first thing I hear, what I can't stand, and I hear people say, oh, relaxer, it's just like color. It is not. It is absolutely not. So if you stop saying that, then maybe people will learn how to do it. Because with that mindset, they're just painting it on like they painting a picture. You're not Picasso, girl. Get it in there and get it out. You know, so it's, and what I've always heard is, oh, yeah, I never learned it. That, but then with that, it's like, that's discrimination then. Because as a salon, for a Black woman to walk in and you can't give her any service, it's discrimination. Because the average stylist does not know how to shampoo their hair, does not know how to shampoo a Black woman's hair, does not know how to blow dry a Black woman's hair. Look, I was shocked to know how many stylists didn't even know what the comb attachment for a blow dryer was for. Like, what? You know, and, oh no, I did. I just, and then I hear, well, I don't want to hurt her. All that hair, she can't feel it. You know, and so it's so much about education, but to not be able to offer a basic service, a basic shampoo and blow dry is ridiculous. Like, you can't even flat iron. Oh no, I flat ironed her. No, you didn't. She's just as puffy as she was when she came in. Like, that's not flat ironing, you know. And so just basic stuff is not okay. You know, that is that racism. That is, you know, we are stigmatizing, and we have to, you know, as a Black woman, you have to look for a specialty salon. You have to look for a Black salon, and you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to. I am just a firm believer. If you're a stylist, you're a stylist. You know type and texture of hair. You can do all. You might not be great at it, and you own it, and you be like, girl, I can do this, this, or this. I'll do my best. And for as a Black woman, that's all I ask. That's all most Black women ask, is that you do your best. Don't have to, or don't get in there and be, oh, I can't, this is so tiring. Like you're complaining like the whole time, and you make her feel like she's a problem. But you have no problem taking her money. So, we just need to change as a whole. The books have, we need to change legislative as far as, like I said, with natural hair, textured hair, how they call it. It should be in the curriculum. And if you're going to be a natural hair care specialist, you need to be licensed. You're still messing with chemicals, shampoo and conditioner chemicals. You still need to know what you're doing. So we need to make sure that they're licensed as well. To be like, oh, they don't need to be licensed to do braids. Why not? Traction alopecia, why not?
Mm-hmm.
You need to know what things are. And, that's one thing I know before I left Carolina that they did work on. And yeah, to do natural hair, even you're doing braids, can't do any chemicals, you can't do any haircuts, but you still got to get licensed. And it should be a thing across worldwide. It should be a thing, because main ones you see African American women with no edges, because of traction alopecia. And so it's a thing. It just needs to be, and we just need to make each other more aware of our surroundings, and we need to learn how to accept and not be so closed-minded about everything, because we can learn something from each other.
Great. Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as Roxanne was talking, I was thinking about, my beauty school experience, what you were saying about relaxers and the education on relaxers. Yeah, I do feel like in my class specifically, we were taught to like fear a relaxer. And you don't really need to know this because you're not going to have to ever do one.
Right.
Our teacher said that. Really? Yeah. And I remember I wasn't, there was so many things I wasn't taught. And in school I wasn't taught about edges. I wasn't taught how to do skin fade. I wasn't taught how to do how to line up, how to line. I learned lining from my first job out of beauty school. I was in a salon in Madison, Wisconsin, and there was a woman who I was working with, and she was Hispanic, and she did lining on all of her clients, and I was watching her, and I was like, wow. Not only was she extremely talented, but she was very, very good at it. And I was like, I want to learn. I'm hungry to learn. What are you doing? And I want to learn about it. And and that was just one of the things I wasn't taught in school. And yeah, and in addition to that, going back to your question, Darcy, of like what we can do to change things or to call it out. I think that having conversations like this is important. I think that having conversations like expand people's minds and also educate ourselves and change perspectives. I think that's a big portion of it. Conversations with your clients, conversations with other people in the industry, to just get the conversation going, to just get it out there, and to call out the inequity. I think that starts a larger conversation happening. Yeah, I'm not sure what else I would add that Roxanne hasn't already eloquently said.
Gotcha. I definitely feel that in our industry that we fake it till we make it and we go along to get along. And those are really great when you're first learning to a certain degree, but you can't fake treating people with genuine, authentic care and empathy. And whether that's your coworker or your boss or a client, that if like for example, I have a call in from someone, do you do braids? And I tell them I do these types of braids, I don't do these types of braids, because I don't feel that those are my strong suit. But I am perfectly happy to do cut and color and things like that. Um, I need to challenge, everyone needs to challenge themselves to learn the things that don't feel comfortable, whether it's a concept, whether it's a technique, whether it's a conversation, and all of that stuff. And I, I don't, I personally, I feel like the solution, it lies within ourselves. I can't direct that outward. That holding ourselves accountable in every single moment is challenging and not fun and uncomfortable, but that has to happen for the changes in the conversations to come together. I get really frustrated when it comes to sitting in the chair and feeling like I'm not getting that connection from someone, and the only way that I'm going to be part, I want to create that relationship. How am I supposed to create that relationship if I am not trying to understand their experience? And if I'm not validating and acknowledging someone's experience when it comes to getting their hair done or in their life, or, you know, when we're just having conversations, it starts with me. It starts with me. And I can't look towards Roxanne or Tamara or the other people in the people of color community to do that for me, and take that responsibility seriously. We owe them, and that's part of our reparations to them, is taking that extra effort that we weren't taking before, that we were being you know, complacent and staying in our comfort zone. And you know, I think you have to focus on you and what you can do. You can only control you. And when you see it in the moment, figuring out a way to call it out in an intelligent and empathetic way to try and bring them with you. But again, like I said before, I can't prescribe what it's going to be. I think it's going to take daily effort. It's going to take daily education. It's going to take us working together to make the changes that have to happen. So I guess that's pretty much the crux of it. I feel at a loss sometimes, so I just try to focus on me because I feel so overwhelmed by it. And it's okay to feel overwhelmed by it, but eventually we're going to have to breathe our way through it and find that moment where I am going to do something. Not doing something is not a choice. It's not a possibility. It's not an option. You have to do something. Cool. Okay. Well, we have covered quite a lot. We've coming up on 2 hours. I thank you so much for joining us for this conversation, Roxanne, Sarah, and posthumously Tamara again. I want to thank the Vocal Cosmetologist audience for sticking through this. And hopefully you get some benefit from this conversation and dialogue. You learned something today. I definitely learned a lot. Don't forget the resources that I'm going to be providing in the description. Realize that is not the be all end all, that there's more resources that you can find. There's more people that you can learn from and talk to in your life and reality every single day. I encourage you if you are a person of privilege or a white person of privilege, take that generational wealth and redistribute it, and support these causes towards equity, towards systemic change, towards eliminating the prison industrial complex, towards eliminating redlining and discrimination against hairstyles for people of color and beyond. And I encourage you to seek out the uncomfortable, because the other side is much brighter than staying in the dark. So if you liked this video, please hit the like or subscribe below, or click on the bell notifications if you would like to see future videos from me, Darcy Harrison, the vocal cosmetologist. I appreciate this conversation so much, and my love and light to all of you. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Bye-bye.